Good morning. Angie asked me to introduce our guest speaker today. He's one of us. You just don't get to see him because he's hiding in a cave most of the time or a sinkhole. He's been seen on a lot of county jobs. Matt Foyer is one of the most fascinating people you'll ever meet. He knows something about everything. We like to try to stump him by bringing in rocks and fossils and bones, and he can identify them. He's worked with the sheriff's office on investigations where we try to discover, is this an animal? Is this a human? We've had him in every sinkhole in Greene County. He's mapped the geology of Greene County. Really fascinating individual. And we met him first when we discovered Riverbluff Cave on a county project and blew the roof off the thing. He's going to tell you a little bit about that. We worked with Dr. Thompson at the time to set up some sort of agreement between the county and a private entity so we could work that. So Matt holds a lot of hats. He works for the county during the day. On nights and weekends, he is the executive director of Men's. And so he keeps that operation going from the private side and also works as functions as a county employee. We call him our county geologist, but he is much, much more than that. And rather than just waste a lot of time bragging on him, I'd like for you to hear from the man himself.
Thanks, Kevin. Appreciate it. All righty, guys. Well, thanks for coming out. Somebody here to be educated. Others are here to see me maybe fail. My coworkers there in the office there. Anyway, it's funny. Yesterday I was walking through the area, the building, doing some stuff, and I was like, "Oh, the caveman's here tomorrow. We'll talk about the cave." And I got to thinking about that. Then I talked to Kevin, and he goes, "You get to talk about whatever you want to talk about." I thought, "Huh, well, that's cool." So we're going to talk about caves and volcanoes. And how they go together. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be exhilarating. The best 10 minutes of your life today. Well, this morning. Yeah, anyway, beats being stuck in traffic, which I was. So anyway, so I kind of tweaked the whole talk. So Riverbluff Cave, this is from last year. We just had our 21st anniversary a few days ago. September 11th is that of course I pressed the wrong button immediately. Technology. So, of course, the anniversary of the cave is September 11, 2001. And I think everybody knows the story. So there's a slide, there you go. That's it. That's the birthday. We discovered it then. If you are new, and I see a surprised look on one person's face. So if you're new, I can tell you afterwards the whole story about that. But for the other 99%, I won't bore you again. So anyway, this thing started out just a crater in the ground, as some of you guys know. Anybody here from the highway department at all? No? Were you guys around for the blast? Okay. So did you see the crater when it first? Yeah, nice. Yeah. So there's a guy that remembers the beginning there, and that was basically our first shot when we walked up the hill and looked into that crater. And the cave entrance is just at the very bottom of the slide. I have a pointer. There we go. Technology. It doesn't show up on that sign. Okay. Anyway. So once we got in, we realized this thing was just amazing. The cave, just call it an Ice Age time capsule. That was a term I coined early on, and it has really held to be that. Claw marks. This is an American lion here, 8 inches wide. We've got trackways of extinct animals. We've got piles of dung from these animals, bear beds, fossils, you name it, we have it all. It really is spectacular. But what it also does is it gives us a unique look into the Ozarks for the past 1.1 million years. That's the oldest date we've got so far from the sediment in the cave and the fossils. So, and we have deeper levels that we're just now getting ready to send off for more testing. So it should come back at like 1.2 million sometime soon. But this graph is horribly small. Anyway, it shows things looked better yesterday at the museum. So anyway, things look huge on my computer screen. But anyway, this briefly tells us that some of the black and white here on the middle of it shows us the glacial, interglacial, basically episodes are the cyclic climate change, if you will. We're currently in an interglacial period, not represented on here, it's just off the chart, but we've got 21 of these glacial, interglacial flip-flops, if you will, represented in the cave. And you can really clearly see these warm-loving animals, giant armadillos, big turtles, animals that don't rely on a lot of hair to survive. And you also see the influx of this cold climate coming into the cave, things changing up. So it's really neat to see that climate change in the cave and in a geologic context. So we have things like mammoth. Mammoth in Greene County, right? I never heard of that one. Well, we've got two in the cave. But the biggest question that I've always had since day one is why? How do you get a big giant mammoth and a smaller mammoth in the cave? And for years we asked that question and had an idea. Why do we have? I'm actually holding this is a baby mammoth jaw. Found one Saturday, very exciting discovery, along with the tooth as well. So anyway, and that clump of mud is a baby mammoth jaw, I promise you. But why'd they get in there? Why would two mammoth walk into a cave? I mean, elephants don't walk into caves today. It's not something they normally do, except for the one in Africa where they eat the salt off the wall. And that was actually a working idea for a brief second, that maybe they were extracting some sort of mineral in the cave, but we found no evidence for that. So we did find in the same sediment volcanic ash. Now, in the middle of this picture, there's a little piece, looks like a glass shard. This is the kind of thing you would step on in a kitchen 3 weeks after you broke a plate. But anyway, this glass shard came from a volcanic eruption 640,000 years ago, which coincides with the anyone been to Yellowstone? All right. Yeah. Part of Yellowstone is in Riverbluff Cave. And right here. So if you're staying at Mammoth Spring, if you've been to Mammoth Spring in Yellowstone and you turned around from all the pretty stuff and looked out over the valley, you're looking at the crater, the caldera of the Lava Creek eruption 640,000 years ago. And this is essentially that view you would see if you're staying there at Mammoth Spring, looking the other direction. And so when this blew, it blew ash as far east as Missouri. We would have had about a foot of ash here. I mean, imagine when we get 3 inches of snow and traffic stops this town, imagine a foot of ash falling. It happened once, it'll happen again. Yellowstone is swelling again, and depending on the magnitude and so on, it may put ash on Greene County again. So something to consider. It's kind of a neat scenario. So anyway, this is the Lava Creek ash bed. A quick slide of how far it reached. You can see it encompasses most of Missouri. We're not sure about the edge, exactly how far east. I think it may be just a little bit further than that, but you can see the red dot there clearly showing you where Yellowstone is. So this thing really did a lot of damage when it does go off. So, and each eruptive event has a different type of ash, a different look, a different chemistry to it, so we can tell exactly which event it was. In this case, we did. All right. So along with, I'm trying to keep this really short and simple, what was neat about this is we thought, okay, what is the impact of an eruptive event like Yellowstone? You know, we all see the hype articles like, if Yellowstone explodes, how will it put us in the Stone Age and all this stuff? Well, it's true, it will, but it'll be a game changer for us in the Northern Hemisphere for sure. But what did it do at the time? You know, we can sit here and say, well, it's swelling and it's every 640,000 years it goes off, and we're right at 640,000 years. Go visit it before it explodes if you haven't been there yet. That's what I did last summer. I thought, well, I might as well go before it pops, you know. So we changed from going to Denver to going to Yellowstone. Anyway, I'm not saying it will, though. No, yeah. Matt Foyer says Yellowstone's going to blow up this week. So no, I'm not. But anyway, what did it do to the area? What impact does 1 foot of ash have on Greene County? Well, today it would have a huge impact on it, but back then, what was it? So we started looking at the sediment that had the same volcanic ash in it. And what we found were microfossils, this mass extinction. Not only mammoths, we found horse, we found fox and turtle. And then this petri dish right here with a quarter for scale, each one of those little fragments in there is a bone. It's a vertebrae from a minnow. It's a rodent tooth, a frog leg, bird claws. This thing wiped us clean out here. It was a regional extinction. Most of the things in North America went extinct at this time. Large grazing animals like mammoths died out in this area. You know, of course, they moved back in after things settled down. But when you're an animal that's dependent upon eating grasses or living in that floor, you're breathing in volcanic ash. We know that today, if you do that, it cuts up your lungs, that those glass shards get inside of you, cut you up inside, and essentially suffocate you. What we're looking for now is the adult jaw of the mammoth to see if there's Marie's disease, this bone growth in the jaw and the lower jaw that tells you this is an animal that's suffocating over weeks and months. In the end, these guys went in, all these animals went in, at least to this mammoth horizon, this volcanic event. They came in to escape the ash fall. And you see this hole and you're like, oh, I'm going to go in there just to breathe some clean air for a while. And that's what makes Riverbluff unique, is because it took those animals in. Most of these animals suffocated. They succumbed to the ash fall. And, they left us its record. Things like the American lion. I'll just kind of run through the list real quick here because I know I'm running out of time. The giant short-faced bear. And you guys have heard my lecture before. You guys have seen the bones from these guys. If not, come out to the museum. We can show them to you. Just an amazing array. Now, the short-faced bear is cool because this slide here really shows it. Short-faced bear is on the far left, black bear on the far right. You can see the two different bones on top, the knee joint and the elbow joint for size comparison. They're just huge. 2,000-pound bear on average, 10 feet long on all fours, and 6 feet tall when they're on all fours. Huge bear. Can run 40 miles an hour in a straight line. And here's Bear Pit in the back of the cave. Now, this is when bears came in, they would overwinter. They would hibernate in the cave. It's a hibernaculum for them. And you can see two of us there, but the claw marks are way above our head as well. They're right in front of us, but they're also way up on the slope. So, 12, 13 feet high. It is absolutely amazing, guys. And it's like it happened yesterday in the cave. It's spectacular. Footprints. This is the Ice Age pig, the peccary, walking through the cave. There's thousands of these on the floor. In some places, you can't even walk in the cave because you would trample these trackways. Not a good idea. But imagine if you left your house this morning. Imagine where you put the plate, maybe for your breakfast, or the pile of clothes. I'm not saying you're dirty or messy or whatever, but I got a pile of clothes as well. But imagine you left that. Imagine where you left the remote control for your television on the arm of your chair or couch, and you went to work today. But imagine that nobody went back to your place for 500,000 or 600,000 years. And then one day they open the door and there's your stuff, perfectly preserved like it was yesterday. That's Riverbluff Cave. The preservation is phenomenal in here. So after, now 21 years, the cave, some really odd, cool things have come out of it. Of course, in the beginning, it was just, us going in and discovering things every time we went in, and it was new and exciting. But then reality sinks in, and what do we do with it? Well, it gave rise to the museum. Some of you have been out there. If you haven't been out there, please come out and visit us. It's the Missouri Institute of Natural Science. It has all of the Riverbluff Cave stuff either on display or held in the collection part of the museum. We educate thousands of people, school kids. I think we had 4,000 alone just in the spring that came through from all over the place. We're talking from Alton, Missouri, which Michael knows where Alton is. If you don't know where it is, just ask Michael. It's way east. Koshkonong over that direction, to Kansas, Joplin, northern Arkansas, Osceola. So we really do educate really the multi-state area with our natural history collection, especially Riverbluff Cave. Most classes want to hear about the cave, so I give this talk a lot. And of course, we also supply data to researchers from all over the world. Currently, our fossils, our samples from the cave are circulating in the world doing all sorts of cool studies. So it's a lot of fun. And then obviously it gives us a glimpse into the future with like the Yellowstone thing. This is a real danger as far as humans. We've been in a slow period of volcanic activity right now. When it happens again, like the Tonga eruption a few months ago, that was 11-hour long eruption on the island of Tonga. Had it lasted 12 hours, researchers suggested it might have changed our climate for a couple of years it's colder, so I would say it's a positive way. But anyway, most people would say negative. But yeah, it gives us a better understanding of what's going to happen in the future. And that's really what's important about Riverbluff Cave, is that it gives us this beautiful glimpse into the past, but it also hints at what the future holds for Southwest Missouri, especially Greene County. So any questions? Sorry if I went over time. I didn't. No one's giving me the thing, so I assume I've got a minute or two. But okay. Oh, I ran through that one. So it was my attempt to send it via email yesterday, so I kept deleting slides to get it small enough to send it. And finally, I just told Angie, I'm like, I'll just drive it up there. So, yes. Oh, sure. Okay, we can do that. For the two people in the room that haven't heard, so it should be like a indoctrination thing for Greene County. You gotta, yeah. But so on September 11th, we were doing road construction. Well, we weren't. I was at home watching TV, like some other people were, just glued to the television. What was happening? They were building Cox Road. So if you know, kind of southwest Springfield area, it's Republic, Cox Road, head south on Cox to 190 up by Rivercut golf course, that area. They were putting the road through, and they were blasting a road cut for construction. They had all the charges set in place, or some of the charges set in place. They had a huge plan to let everything off that day. But then all of a sudden, 9/11 happened, a terrorist attack. So this is where it gets kind of muddled, whether it was the Marshals Service or somebody else. But anyway, the federal government said no more blasting anywhere in the country. So quarry work and demolition and so on. So what happened was, they had a few charges in the ground and said, well, we can't let these things sit there. It's dangerous. So they let off just the small handful of charges they had in the ground, which opened up a 40-foot wide, 20-foot high hole in the cave. It wasn't an entrance before. It's now a man-made entrance. But now, had all the charges been in place, I wouldn't be standing here. The cave would be, part of it would be vaporized. And most of the big discoveries were found in that front room for a number of reasons. Not that it's more important than the back of the cave, but it's just the area we're working in. It's closer to the entrance. All of those would have been destroyed. So we got lucky on that. So, and it's been weird because last year was the first year we actually celebrated our birthday as far as the cave. We had a big open house and lectures and all that kind of stuff. But because it's kind of stinks to celebrate your birthday. Hey, it's 9/11. It's our birthday. Sorry, you guys got attacked, but it's our birthday, So anyway, yeah. So we finally, after 20 years, like, okay, it's time. We can do it. So yeah, that's it. So we got called out to, hey, check out this new cave we popped into, and the rest is history. Saw a big, giant, gaping hole, which I didn't want to go to at first. I was hesitant because I had been in a cave a couple weeks before that off of Hazeltine Road that part of it had collapsed and partially crushed me. And so the idea of, hey, we found our cave while doing construction work, you want to come out there and get crushed again, didn't sound appealing at all. But I'm glad I went. So it was a fun day. So, any other questions? Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. So switching gears a little bit, we're getting away from the cave for a second, talk about museum stuff. So yeah, first part of June, went out to Wyoming. So most people know every end of May, 1st of June, I make my Mecca out to Wyoming to dig. It's my opportunity to dig in the sunshine, which my crew likes, because you dig in the cave, you never know how beautiful a day it is. So went out there and we found a nodosaur, which is an armored dinosaur. We found roughly 500 of the bony armor plates from the back of it. And just think of a tank, a little tank on 4 legs, and that's what a nodosaur is. They're rare, so you don't see them often in museums. They're rare to find in the first place, but they're even rarer to see them mounted in museums. And we're starting to learn why. Any given Saturday, if you're out and about, we're out there prepping. It's like an assembly line of these little scoots, big scoots, just you're cleaning them, and it's just, you think, hey, we're making some headway. I did 5 of them today. And you're like, oh, just 495 more to go. So you have nightmares of those things. But then you have to mount them after you're done. So, but yeah, that's our newest discovery. So we're pretty excited. This is our second dinosaur in the museum. Not sure where we're going to put it, but we'll figure out a place. It's small enough. It's roughly the length of one of these benches here and about that tall. So small, you can fit it somewhere. So relatively speaking, small. The other dinosaur we have is the world's largest Triceratops. And it's 12 feet high, it's 30 feet long. It was a little harder to put in the building. So, yeah. Yes. It is Henry. Yeah. Henry the Triceratops. Slowly. Yeah. Yeah. It's when you do nights and weekends and you're tired of working nights and weekends, it stalls. So, if anybody here wants to weld, mount ribs forever and ever, come on out and, tell us. So, any other questions?
Maybe if you don't mind, just go through some of the discoveries in the cave.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So, and again, just for time, I kind of really condensed it down. The talk actually is 45 minutes long. The one I give that talks about most of the new discoveries. What's so neat about Riverbluff Cave is the preservation. As I mentioned to you earlier, it's as if you just closed the door, locked it up, and came back 500,000 years later. And with that said, it has the ability to preserve soft parts. So imagine in your house, it's not just where the remote is set or where the pile of clothes are. Imagine it's the half-eaten peanut butter and jelly sandwich that's in your refrigerator. That would still be there. And the leftover spaghetti, that's still in there. It's not good, but it's still in there. We have soft parts preserved in the cave, preserved in calcite. So we have earthworms, we have millipedes. You can see when some of them are broken in cross section, you can still see the guts inside, perfectly preserved. Which hopefully, I know it sounds gross, like, oh, yeah, this guy needs to get a life. But what's neat about this is in the fossil record, soft part preservation is rare, very rare. And when it does occur, it's wonderful. But it also gives you a potential for other preservation of animals. Imagine if we have part of a mammoth in there, which we do, but imagine if part of the skin, part of the internal organs got preserved in the same way. That's a potential. Every time we dig in there, we have the potential to find soft parts of a mammoth or an ice age horse or an ice age pig. Wow, that's a cool discovery, right? I mean, the first time you'd ever see a fossilized heart of a mammoth, that's not frozen in some, a carcass in Siberia. But it's really unique. That's rare. But the whole cave is like that. The trackways are amazing. I'll tell you the quick story. Years ago, I worked as an intern at the St. Louis Zoo, and mainly because back then my interest was turtles and crocs during the time of dinosaurs. So I wanted to work there and wrestle crocs and turtles for a few summers, and it was a good job. But anyway, met some great people up there. One of them was a guy named Pete Taylor, who shortly after the Riverbluff discovery, I invited him down to see the cave. And it's funny how, as a researcher, you see stuff every day. I think we're all guilty of this as humans. You just see the same thing every day. And then one day you look and you go, I never realized that's that. Oh, cool. We've all had those moments, we're driving or whatever. Bear Pit in the back of the cave is just this amazing thing. You're standing there, and 14 feet above you, just this wall full of giant short-faced bear claw marks where you could see probably a female and a couple of cubs, clawing their way up this wall. For whatever reason, we don't know, but they're in the pit trying to claw their way out. And you looked at it and you saw the claw marks, these big, massive claws, and the damage they were doing. But I'm standing there with Pete Taylor, and Pete looks at it and says, you can even see where the hair from the belly of the bear are impressed into the clay. And I looked at him and I said, that was what I thought as well. Never let them see you sweat, guys. Later on that evening at a steak dinner, we were barbecuing. I said, Pete, I got to fess up, man. You got me on that one. I didn't even see it until you mentioned it. And now it makes so much sense. But that's the preservation. I mean, the hair from this animal, they're bristly, impressed into the clay, and we get to see it 500,000 years later. That's just, you never get tired of seeing that. You never do. And that's what makes the cave so darn unique. I mean, yeah, it's pretty. It's got cool formations, but I took those slides out. Normally I have a couple of, front room slides. It's pretty. It's better looking than any cave you're going to see, a tour cave around the area. but that doesn't make the cave important. What makes the important are the discoveries that we find within it, and that level of detail in the preservation. Any other questions? Well, thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it. So, come out and see us.
Forgot to mention that Matt is also taught in college courses. He's published in all the scientific magazines. Favorite pastime, though, is to bring him your rocks and fossils and see if he can identify them. I'm pretty sure.
Steps here in the old courthouse, and then email me a picture and say, "What's this?"
I will warn you, I'm pretty sure he makes some of this stuff up because we don't know. But you will get an answer.
Yeah.
So, okay, we finished? All right, come back next week.